Mm. And we will make an official start. So welcome everybody to the May Tech Talk with Lynette Coulston from iTandCoffee. Some of you may have seen Lynette's talk we did a couple of years ago, early last year. Okay. And Lynette runs an IT support business, and we know each other through a business network. So that's how we have connected and why she is here today with us. And so today, today we're covering some tips and tricks for Excel. It's something I've thought about a bit, and we've talked about, you know, that we often, like a lot of us, just start using it and we work our way around it, but we never actually have any training in it, and we miss out on some really key functions, I think. And so, yeah, it'll be great to see what Lynette's got in store for us. And if you want to know more and actually get the proper training, then you can also do that with Lynette later. So over to you, Lynette.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Can't see anyone on the screen.
I know, it's a bit of a fun. There's lots here in the background.
All right, well, I might just fire up my presentation, and I'm just going to be switching between screens here so that I can show you. So find the presentation here, just one moment, which is over here. Just moved. Okay, so this is, I'm just going to move everything out of the way so I can make a start over there. All right, so what I wanted to talk about is just some of my favorite top tips for Excel. We've only got a short while, so I'm not going to go into all the, you know, getting started stuff of learning how to create a spreadsheet and the real basic stuff. Hopefully you've got some of that. And as was mentioned, I do have a whole series of videos that take you from the start. There's eight parts of about an hour each, and they sort of build up the skills along the way. And there's also a book to accompany that if you are interested. So what I want to focus on today is just some top tips. There's some slides here. Actually, before I start, I'll just mention that the slideshow will be available to get via the iTandCoffee website. We'll show the link at the end. And you just have to provide your email address. It's basically, it goes through MailChimp, so you have to be on our mailing list to get a link to the PDF of the slideshow. But
I just want to interrupt you there. Sorry, Lynette. I forgot to tell everybody, for anyone new to the Tech Talk, feel free to type your questions in the chat box or Q&A. I'll monitor that, and I'll interrupt Lynette if necessary.
Yeah, no, go for
it. Or we'll get to the questions at the end. But, you know, feel free to put your questions in, and if we don't get to it through the session, we'll get to it at the end. Thanks.
Okay. Right. So this is what I thought we'd try and get through in about 30 minutes. Have we got about 30 minutes? Is that right? A little bit more? Your microphone's off.
We have up to an hour, so it just depends on
over a little bit.
Yeah.
We'll leave some time for some questions as well, because there is quite a bit. It's always hard to judge how long it will take. And when I run this session, I often use some videos because sometimes it's tricky to demonstrate things quickly in Excel. But anyway, so the things I wanted to focus on, some of these have come out of some work I've been doing like the last few days with a business, things that I've noticed that the people in that business don't do and don't use. And they're things like when you've got a great long spreadsheet, freezing the headings or the leftmost column or some of the columns, how you go about doing that. A lot of people don't do that. Some tips on selecting in bulk, auto-filling, a particular one that I have been using. I didn't discover it until quite late, something that's called flash fill. If you haven't discovered it yet, you're going to love it. And just some formatting tips. Something that I've been using so much with what I've been doing with this other business is getting a list that's deduped. You know, you've got a whole whole heap of entries in a table and you just want to get the unique set of values that you see in that list, there's a really quick way to do that. A bit of a chat about structuring your data properly to get the most out of it, because a lot of times people use spreadsheets like they're sort of just a grid for entering stuff and don't think about how the structure of that spreadsheet can make it make or break the sort of analysis that you can do on your data. We'll talk about filtering, something called tables, which is fantastic. If you haven't discovered it, you will love it. I'm going to touch on cross-referencing of data, which means looking up data in another sheet to pull in information that you were looking up. And then I just want to show you something that I love, and it's what I've been spending my days and nights on lately. There's a tool that allows you to take a spreadsheet and turn it into an app, which is amazing, because this is what I've been doing. It's for an agriculture business at the moment. They had all these spreadsheets of data, which we now can quickly turn into an app. And then it gives them lovely forms and reports and stuff, even on an iPad and iPhone. So in the field, they can be checking their data and updating their data, and they don't have to be conscious that it's a spreadsheet. They don't even have to know it's a spreadsheet, but it is underlying all that just a spreadsheet. So that's one worth knowing about, maybe, if it's not for yourself, for businesses that you work with as well.
Yeah, that sounds very cool.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
We have developed, like the thing that we're doing at the moment. In my IT days, I started life as a programmer. It would have taken 6 months, 9 months at least to develop what we have developed in a few weeks. It's phenomenal what you can do.
Right. Okay.
So I thought I'd start with this one that's been driving me crazy in every spreadsheet that I go into in this particular business. I hope there's no one from that business here who recognises me. So a lot of people don't realise you can freeze your column headings. When you're scrolling through a spreadsheet and you get down the bottom, you think, oh, what column's that? And you've got to scroll all the way back to the top to work out what your column is. Very important to know that you can fix that top row or multiple rows, even if you've got, say, a heading at the top of your sheet. And you can even freeze the columns as well or instead of. So you can set your position and then freeze everything above and from that point to the left. So where you go to do that is what I'm going to be showing you when I demonstrate is my Mac Excel. Windows and Mac are very much the same now in terms of the options they provide in the ribbons. So don't be put off that it is actually Mac. The features are all there. What I'm showing on the screen here is Windows. And where you find the options to do with freezing your panels, you can get to them from the main home ribbon. But if you go to the view ribbon, there's a heap of options. A lot of people don't use the ribbons as much as they should. You don't sort of think about what's there. You know how to do things and you jump to the way that you've always done it. But these ribbons can be quite handy for lots of things. So go to your view ribbon and you will see a freeze panes option. And that lets you freeze the top row, freeze the first column, or if you want to do a combination of both, what you do is you position yourself at the cell at which you want the left columns to no longer change, and you don't want the top to change, the ones above to not change, and you hit freeze panes. Once you've hit freeze panes, it says unfreeze, but you freeze go to the spot. Like in the example I've got here, I'm at C2, and if I say freeze panes there, I will keep my A and B column on the screen as I scroll across and keep my row 1 on the screen. So that's my first tip. Does anyone want a demo of that? I don't know whether that needs a demo. What do you think, Jo?
Yeah, if it's easy, I think that's always
jump across.
Always good.
Excel. So this one at the moment is has got the freeze set. So if I just come to I'm going to unfreeze, and you've got the issue that, you go down and you think, oh, what was that column? And you've got to go back to the top. And so what I would do then, if I just want my top row to be frozen, I don't care too much about the leftmost, I would just say freeze top row. And now it doesn't move. But if, say, I had lots of columns and I'm going to be scrolling across and I don't want my A to move, I want that to stay there, I'm going to unfreeze. I would position myself at B2 and I would say freeze panes. And now you'll see my A stays, my first row stays there, but my column A no longer will move. All right, so hopefully that's a good tip for someone out there. Now back to the presentation. Okay, so some tips now. I just wanted to give you some tips around moving around, selecting, and a bit of formatting stuff. So this is something also that comes in so handy. That scenario just then, if I didn't have my panes frozen, if I unfreeze my panes and I've scrolled a long way down and I'm looking at my data and I think, oh, I just want to quickly get back to the top without having to go scroll. What I can do on Windows, I press Control and the up arrow, and it whizzes me back to the top. So that's a really handy one. The Control up arrow, Control down arrow will jump you. It either jump you to the bottom, or if you've got a space, if there's a gap in that set of rows, it'll jump you to that space. But it is a really quick way, Command down arrow, of getting to the last one. So you can see 4408, it's a long lot of scrolling to try and get to the bottom if I have to scroll. So Control down arrow on Windows, Command down arrow on Mac.
I love it. I've learned.
Great, my job here is done. The other one, so I'm just going to go back to the top. The other one that's really handy, sometimes you want everything from the top, or say from cell A2 down to the very end, and I don't want to have to scroll all the way down, so I add the Shift key to that. So Shift Control down or Shift Command down arrow, depending on what you've got, and I have selected everything all the way to the bottom. And maybe I just want to format it, I want to come up and I want all of those to be bold or not bold. You're able to do that so quickly. Combined with that, so another thing I can do, if I wanted to select all the cells that have sort of values in them, assuming there's no gaps going down or across, what I can do is I can do Shift Command, I'm on Mac, Shift Command down arrow, Shift Control down arrow on Windows, and then the across to get to the last column. So then I've got all of my cells that have values in them selected. So
how did you get the across? You did
just the arrow, the across arrow. So I kept
the across arrow.
Yeah, so it's down or across. So the same thing applies if I want to go from A to H, for example, I would do Command Shift across, and yeah, because there was a gap in F, it stopped in that case. So I just pressed the arrow again and it kept going beyond that. So if there's gaps in your rows, you can just...
That is fantastic.
It's so quick and handy to know that one. The other one, of course, that hopefully you know, is that if you need to select the whole sheet, it is the square up at the top left. So that square at the very top left corner is the select all for your sheet. And when you've got something, a couple of other things with formatting, sometimes you've got a very long description, and when you've come in, it looks something like, not that this is a great example, but it's, everything's not spaced correctly. It needs to all be adjusted. You can just double click on the boundary between two cells to get it to auto fit to the content of what's in that particular column. Similar for rows. If your rows are sort of, squished up, you can double click on the boundary between the rows and it will auto size the row height. But also what you can do, which is really handy, is you can select everything, and then just by double clicking any boundary, it'll do the whole sheet, auto size all of the columns so that the content is visible in your cells. And similar for the height. If your height's all out of whack of the rows, you can do the same thing there. Okay, so a couple there. So there's a slide in the PDF that will cover that. So then we can use some of those techniques for various things. If ever I wanted to, say, for example, I decide on, to adjust, say, the size of the content of a cell, and that's with the up arrow on the A, and down will take it back down again. And perhaps I'd like, actually, that's probably not a good example. Maybe, actually, I'm going to do another example. I'm going to do a formula in here. And I'm not going to go into a big lesson about how to do formulas. Hopefully you've done a little bit of formula stuff and you know about formulas. What I'm going to do, I'm going to create what's called, a block ID by concatenating the farm and the block to make something unique. So it's going to be called block ID. I'm going to concat. And this is one particular function that you can use in a formula. Concat, I'm going to do that one, and I'm going to put a hyphen in the middle, and I'm going to add the block to the end. And then lo and behold, I have a formula that I can now repeat across all the cells below. So if I copy that and paste it in there, it will, if there was a different block, it would adjust that accordingly. And I could even have another one that is block row, and I could make that concat. I'll make it that and add a hyphen and then add the row as well. And now I've got that as well. And if I was to choose copy and paste, you can see it's adjusted that and it's picked up the row from that row. Now I could just say copy and then use that technique we've just learnt to select everything down to the bottom. So Command Shift down. Oh no, see, that went all the way. So that's not a good idea. And I'm just going to go back to the top now. I don't do it that way. So you can see that wasn't going to work very well. And I didn't want to have to scroll all the way down to copy it down to row 4000. I would never do that. But what I can do is I can double click. See, there's a little square. Actually, I can drag. There's a little square at the bottom right-hand corner. So if I click on a cell, see the little square, little green square, that allows me to drag down that formula to repeat it across the rows below. I can also drag to the right if that was appropriate. Miss that, do that again, sorry. Just going to move things out of the way a bit. And, it's not letting me do it on that. Why is it not doing it? No, I don't know why it's doing that. Anyway, what I would normally do though is I would double click. Oh, I don't know why it's doing that. I would double click on that square to copy it all the way down. And see, when I double clicked on it, and if I do my command down, it's done it across 4000 rows in one hit really quickly. So that's what I use all the time. I double click on the square, and then my formula, you'll see, is repeated across all of those rows. But something that's really handy as well, if I'm just actually going to put in a, I just add here, sorry, add a column. I'm right clicking on my column heading on D, and I'm inserting That's my quick way of inserting a column. What I could do here, I can actually say farm 1A. So I'm just repeating what's in A, and then I'm going to say 1. And what I can do now, I'm just going to see if this works. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. This is a tip that I didn't discover until quite a way into my Excel career. I can hit flash fill. So I do it once and it goes, oh, and usually I would normally do two rows before I hit flash fill. But look what it's done. It's gone, oh yeah, I can see what you were doing. You had farm 1A and you used this column. And so then it's done the same across all my other rows. It's picked up the pattern just from one entry and worked out what to do with the others. And so then I'll do farm 1A1, and this time I'm going to do 1, and I'll do the next one as well, just to be kind, 1A1, 2, and then I say flash fill, and look at that. I'm just going to expand it out a bit. There we go. And it did it. It's pulled in that one. Oh, there was a merged cell. What's that doing? Is merged. Anyway, it did. That one was merged. I'm not sure why that was merged, but we'll ignore that. All right. So just another tip for a really good example of where I see that as being so useful. For example, you've got 2 columns, first name, last name, and maybe you need a column that is full name. So in 1 or 2 rows, just type in the first name space last name, then go down to the next cell and come to this option and choose flash fill. It'll do the rest of the rows for you.
So it's kind of an alternative to concatenate.
It is, absolutely, yeah. And it's not just concatenate, because sometimes it's other patterns that see that you can pull something apart. So I could say here, Tudy Trill. So I could have 2 columns, Tudy and Trill, and it will actually work out, oh, you're pulling that apart. And it will do that for you as well. When you think about writing a formula to do that, it's like, oh, that hurts my head.
It'll separate. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, there's also, think about a pattern. If there's a pattern and you can show it the pattern, you go to the next empty cell, you try flash fill.
Yep.
And it will actually work it out for you.
So the flash fill on Windows and Mac, is it in the same
place?
Same place under the data?
It's under data. And data, and it is flash fill. There, it's not highlighted at the moment because I'm not in a spot that it's relevant. All right, so give it a go. I was concatenating for years, and then I discovered that and went, oh my God, that is so quick and easy. Because you do it across, multiple, can be relating to multiple columns.
Great.
Okay, and the other thing that I wanted to show there, which I missed before, if I was to say, come to a cell and maybe I change the format, make it bold, give it a yellow background, all sorts of things. I can, and maybe I need that to be replacing what's below it. I can just drag that down and replace what's below it, and it will absolutely replace the value of the cell. But maybe what I want, I'm just going to undo with my Command Z on Mac, which is Control Z on Windows. So very important to know your undo. If I want to just replace the formatting, there's a couple of really key things that allow that to be done really quickly. So say the rest of the cells, a few cells down below, I want to be in that format. A couple of ways I can do that. Select the cell that has the format I want, come up to my format paintbrush, and then just drag across the other cells that I need to pick up that format. So I use that format paintbrush all the time, get something into the format I want, and then I will hit the paintbrush and click on where I want, click or drag across where I want that format to apply. Really good for headings. You know how you've got a heading that's nicely formatted and you add some columns and they're not nicely formatted. The formatting needs to be repeated. That's another place where you could use that particular technique. But another thing I can do is I can right click on the little, oh, it's not going to do it. Hang on, do that again. I'll just come out of that and right click. Something's going on. Normally you can right click and drag. That's what I should have done. With the little square that's down the bottom, I could have dragged it down and that would be repeating the whole column, cell across all those other cells. So it would replace what was there. But if I right click as I drag down, it asks me, what would you like to do? And so that's another way of filling just the formatting, or copying the cells, or fill without formatting, all of those sort of things. So that's another tip that a lot of people are not aware of, that there's that right click and drag, that little box down will give you that option as well. Okay. Any questions so far?
Great. No, carry on. No, that's.
I can see there's a question about absolute button.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I missed that one. I don't know anything about that. What's that?
We might come to that at the end. We might save other questions for the end on that. Yep. All right. So that little square, keep an eye out for it. Double click on it to copy down. You can drag it down, which does the same sort of thing. Or you can hold your right click as you drag it down to get some other options. And I've already touched on that format painter. That is your friend. Use it. Flash fill, we've done that as well. The other thing to be conscious of as well is that there is a sort of auto fill as well, where you can say, I could say one, so maybe if I go 1A, 1B, oh, that was supposed to be 1B. And I can then drag down. I've selected both of those and I drag down. Oh, no, I should have actually done that. Sorry. I should have just gone like this. No, it's not going to do it. Normally, it does actually try to pick up the pattern. So if I went 1, 2, 3, it should now, if I come to here, I'm doing something wrong here. There we go. And it is actually going to continue the numbering. So it can, and dates as well. If I was to put the 1st of the 1st of 2000 there, 1st of the 1st 2000 there, and then drag down, just be aware that when you do the drag, you've got to have the squares, like the cross, sorry, talking while I'm doing it. I've got to have the cross. No, I don't know what's going on there. I can't seem to. Don't normally have trouble with this. There it is there. If I go like that, notice how it actually changes the date. So be conscious, if ever you use that drag down feature and you've got a date and certain other things, it may be trying to predict the pattern that you have, so it might change the dates. I've often got caught out just saying, oh, I'll copy that date down, and I've done the double click, but what it's actually done is it's continued the sequence down instead of copying the date down. So just be conscious of that. In that case, what I should have done was said, right-clicked on the little square and copied the cells down instead. Anyway, have a play with that. Just be conscious of the patterns that it's trying to predict for you. Oops, back there. And that's flash fill there. Yes. Right. Now, this is the other one that I am using day in, day out at the moment, which is the removing of duplicates or the coming up with a set of unique values. So here's how I would do that. Typically what I'm doing, and this sort of fits in with another bit I wanted to show you, what I often want to do is have some information. So maybe these particular types have some attributes about them. So maybe each type has a price or, a description, or there's some sort of feature that that is associated with it that I don't want to repeat over and over and over. I want it to pick it up as reference data for that particular type. And I'll show you what I mean by that. What I'm going to do, I'm going to set up another sheet. Whoops, another sheet. I'm going to right click and insert a sheet. I'm just going to make it the second sheet. Just bring that across and call it, I'll just call it types. So hopefully you're familiar with how to have multiple sheets in your spreadsheet. It is, I just right clicked on any sheet and I can insert a sheet by doing that. Now I'm going to use the technique that we talked about a bit earlier. I'm going to shift command down. It would be control on a Windows computer. That's everything. That's all the rows, all the types that are in this sheet. I'm going to copy that now and Mac Command C, Windows Control C to copy. And then I'm going to go to my types and I'm going to Command V. And I might just fix that format up by selecting A6 and replacing that formatting there and double clicking to make that the auto size. So now I've got a lot of repeated types, but I want a unique set. So what I do, I'm selecting that whole column and I can come to my data option and I can remove duplicates and confirm. And now out of 4,315 rows, I have 91 unique values. And what I can also do, because sometimes what you find then is that the unique values, sometimes people will put spaces at the end of words that then are identified as a different cell to a different value to others. So what you can then do to help with that, I would sort. So I can say, you can see in this data tab, we have a sort option. So I would sort that and then I can have a bit of a look and just see, are there, and you can see there, they're the same, but it's probably that one of them has a space on the end. Yeah, see, that's got a space on it. So if I remove the space on each of those, this is what really got me caught out with this business, because there was all this data in their spreadsheet. I thought that we'd got the unique set, but they had spaces in various places. So it was actually identifying it as a different thing and causing some grief. So what I could do to fix that, I could actually use a formula instead. I can say equals trim and close bracket and use my technique of double clicking. And then what I would do is, that's my unique set now. What I would do with that now, I don't want that to be a formula. So I would select all of those and I would right click and I would paste values. Why is it not doing that? Should be paste values. And that. Do that. And so now I've got value. Oh no, it didn't do it. Right, I'll copy that and I'm going to paste values, So now I've got a unique set of values there. Or have I? Something's gone wrong. Hang on. Trim A2. Did I get unique?
Don't you have to copy?
Oh, I haven't done the dedupe, have I? Oh, what I actually wanted to do, I'm just going to copy that. I wanted to copy and I wanted to paste special. So I've just got values. That's better. I just didn't want a formula anymore. And now I've got to dedupe those. I'll get rid of that other column in a minute. And I'm just going to do that lot. And I'm not going to care about column B. I just want to dedupe column B. And now I've got, what I'll see is that set. No, it didn't do it. Right, I'm going to get rid of this, delete. And I'm going to remove duplicates.
Yeah, so it's reduced it from 91 down to 80.
Oh, it did it? Yeah, good.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah, there's no, I wasn't really. There's still one there though. No, I'm not happy with that. Something's gone on there. Anyway, that's the theory. I won't worry about what I did wrong there, but basically the formula there, you can use trim to trim off spaces. If ever you have got some data that's got spaces, you can copy You can replace that formula with just the text, the values. If you want to get rid of the formula, quite often I'll do that as well, is take a column and do the formula and then replace what was in the column with that value. So that's remove duplicates. Hopefully you'll find some use for that. This one is...
sorry, just interrupt you there. So that remove duplicate option only becomes available in your ribbon if you have duplicates. Is that correct? Because I can't. I've got a sneak.
Have you selected a set of
well, I haven't got duplicates, so that's probably why it's not showing up.
Yeah, you have to have selected a set of values, but also be aware of how wide of the resolution of your screen. Sometimes it's actually a little, I'll show you what I mean. Hang on. If I come back here and I go smaller, what I see, what you see is that it looks like this. So
that's handy. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So just be aware that if you may have symbols instead, you can actually, I know you can't click there. Yeah. So I often, when I've got my sheet squished up, I have to go looking for it because I'm not familiar with the
great
symbol. So yeah, that would just be about your resolution.
So can you remove duplicates for an entire worksheet, or do you have to do a column or a row?
No, you can do the whole sheet. So what you've got to be conscious of, if you've got if there's more than one column that dictates whether it's duplicate or not. So it may be that, if column A and column B are different, you don't want that to be classified a duplicate. So then you would say dedupe on the basis of both column A and B, and then it will only dedupe on that basis. So it really depends on what you're trying to achieve.
Yep, great.
Yep.
Okay.
What was I going to say? Oh yes. So the next one I was going to show you. Now, is this a good? It's probably not a great example in this table, but what you can do. If I've got a better example than this, because this is such a. I might actually create a new sheet with just a bit of stuff in it. With where's my formula on the end? So if I just come to here, copy that. I'm just going to do a brand new sheet and paste that in. Okay. And it lost. Did I not bring? Oh, I forgot to. I didn't bring a column across. I'll just go back and do that again. I must have started at the wrong spot. I'll just come down to here. Across to that. Copy that back to here. Okay, so I've got my formulas and I've lost, it doesn't matter, I've lost my formatting and all that sort of stuff. What I want to show you is something that, again, I didn't discover it until a little bit later in the piece. And it's something called a table. I'm just going to remove that formatting there. Oh, actually, before I get to that, what I will also say is I noticed in here, I've picked up a spreadsheet that had some merged cells in it. And this caused me no end of grief with what I had to do for this client, because what they were trying to show was that on this farm, this particular row had two different, these were types of tree. When the rule was supposed to be that a row could only have one type of tree, all that sort of stuff. Anyway, so I needed, in terms of my sheet, it needed to have none of this merging, because I needed to be able to total and do all sorts of things by row. And if I've got merged cells, I can't do that. And it gets back to a point that I had in my summary. When you're doing a spreadsheet, if you want to be able to do all sorts of things like totaling and subtotaling and grouping and filtering, don't have merged cells in the body of your sheet. Don't have things like this one here. Oh, it's probably not a good example, but there were, actually, let me just find another sheet, see if I've got it here. Just one moment. Not that one. I want material, boot camps. I wanted to show you this. There's a concept in database terms of something called normalization, normalizing your database, normalizing your data so that you can make the most of it. This spreadsheet has been manually set up so that it splits out things by type, and I'll just please ignore the details that are in here because it is someone else's details, so don't share it or anything. But I just wanted to show that this actually is not going to work well if I want to do any reporting on it. And if I want to use things called pivot tables, charts, if I want to do, filtering and all that sort of stuff can be affected. If I want to be able to report on all trucks and utes, I really want that to be a column. I want the type of vehicle, in this case, to be a column, a separate column, and each row should have what type of vehicle it is in it. Because then you can do filtering and reporting and all sorts of things that you can't do if you're subtotaling, any sort of stuff like that, that you can't do if you do this sort of thing. So what there should have been was another column in here that said, type, and trucks and utes, motorbikes and RTVs, blah, blah, blah. They should have been entries on the left side, repeated for each of those rows. And then if you do that, you have the capability to use filtering and all sorts of other tools within Excel that you don't have the capability to use otherwise. And it's also something that's essential if you use a tool like this app creation tool that I use. It must be a normalized data. And also with that tool, you can't have headings. You shouldn't have headings in your file, but don't worry, you can have those in your sort of spreadsheets. So just think about when you're creating a spreadsheet, have columns for everything. And even if you have to repeat values, that's okay, because you can set up then other things like filtering, and there's other ways that you can bring in data that you need for the data that you've repeated. It probably doesn't make a lot of sense because it's got so much other stuff around it, but I just thought I'd raise that there. So just coming back to my spreadsheet here, my sheet 2, this is just a standard range of cells. And if I've got 2 formulas there, and if I want to continue with a new row, I would sort of have to copy, that row and paste it there, and then change the data, and then my formulas would pick up the different data. So it's a bit tedious to do that. What I can do instead, I can create this thing called a range. So if I select that set of cells, I can say I can insert a table. And if I say that's picked up the range and it knows my table has headers, I say, okay. Now that it's a table, it has some lovely formatting. I can choose my formatting. It's already set up exactly as I need it. And then when I need to add a new row, all I do is come to my very last cell and I hit tab. And now whatever I put in here, the formulas are already there. It actually picked up, because that was a concatenation. I didn't have to copy the formula. Each time I add a row now by hitting tab at that last cell in the table, and you can see the end of the table is indicated by that little symbol, it will pop the formulas in that need to be there without you having to do it. What a table also gives you is by default, it'll turn on this thing called filtering, which you can do in normal ranges of cells, but in tables, it turns it on for you automatically. And what a filter is something that allows you to hone in on your data. So I could say, look, I just want to see everything for farm 1A. Sorry, I'm unticking the others. I just want to see farm 1A. And actually, I would like to just see in my blocks, I just want 3. And you can see this is where having that repeated data helps you, because then it can find all the rows that match whatever you've selected and still allow you to do all sorts of totaling, subtotaling, all of that sort of stuff. What a table also allows you to do, when you click within a table, what you notice is in your ribbon at the top, you have the table option appear. Normally, if you're outside the table, there's no option called table. When I'm in a table, a context-sensitive option appears up the top. And what that lets me do is choose some of my configuration stuff. I showed you how you can adjust the colors. That's a nice one. Also, though, you can turn on or off the filter option. So it's got the filters there. I can turn off the filters. I can turn it back on. Just when it comes to filters, always be conscious if it's got a symbol like you're seeing over location and over block, it means your sheet is filtered. And you can see here, I'm not seeing all of my rows. So I know I've got a filter active, and I can click on that and clear the filter. And I can click on this one and clear that filter. And then I've got all my rows back again. There's other ways to clear the filter that I'll hopefully show you in a sec. But I can also, with my table, I can have the banded rows or not. I can have a header row or not. And I can also, now where is it there? I can add totals. The first column, I can have a total row. So see how there's a total row. So if I had figures that need totaling, then it will add a total row. I think that's just a count. Oh no, it's a subtotal there. You can adjust what that total looks like. So I can say I want that to be a sum, and that has now summed all the content of that table. And the big advantage as well of a table is that as I add new rows to my table, the sum is automatically adjusted. You don't have to remember to, because sometimes you add rows and your sum is actually hard-coded to sum only up to a certain point, and you find out later that, oh my God, I wasn't summing everything in it. So tables, I would highly recommend, especially for, accounting type sheets where you're going to be doing totals and you've got formulas, use a table. There's really no downside to it. It works so well and gives you all these extra features.
Right. So we've got 10 minutes, Lynette.
Yep. I just showed you how to convert into a table, filtering your data. We've just touched on that. Look, there's a lot more about filtering. I'll just quickly show you this spreadsheet thing.
Yeah.
So this, when I run this class, I was using the example of my membership, say, with some test data in it. And so what I did was I quickly created this app from and that spreadsheet just had a list of people. It had another sheet that had memberships. The memberships had prices, and the sheet had what membership each person had. So I could quickly say, right, create an app. And within 15 minutes, I had an app that could on my phone straight away show me my list of members. I could tap on a member, and I can also look at it via my web browser, not just on an iPad, an iPhone, or Android, any device, but it's web browser or mobile device. Tap on any of these, I get a nice friendly form that I can fill in, and it can even derive, like for the membership, say it said, the values I see in your spreadsheet are A, B, C, D, so that when you come in, and it gives you the options to choose from. It doesn't just make you enter it, it actually gives you the set of valid values. And it came up automatically with that set of valid values. I could quickly create a graph that lets me click on that and takes me to all those people with that particular membership. And this is the tool that I'm using to build this system for this agricultural business, to let them track their trees, work out, spraying of trees, all that sort of stuff. So quite a sophisticated system, all with a spreadsheet in the back end of it using this tool.
Is it a free tool that comes with Excel?
Free tool. Is this where I say you have to ask me later? No, look, I'll tell you. I wasn't going to tell you, but I'll tell you. But it's actually been purchased by Google, but it works with OneDrive. It works with Google Drive or Google Sheets. So it works with Excel in OneDrive. It works with stuff in SharePoint. It's got to be cloud-based, of course. Works with Dropbox spreadsheets. But it is owned by Google now, and it's called AppSheet. AppSheet, yeah. So you can create, you've got to sort of understand a little bit about data and this normalizing of data and cross-referencing of data and how to set up your spreadsheet properly. But once it's set up properly, it is so quick to get a working, functioning system in no time flat. That can just, you know, for yourself, even I've used this to build my own client system. So now I've got data that comes in from all different systems and populates a spreadsheet. I use another tool that it's called Zapier that zaps data between all my systems. So I had someone doing admin. I no longer do because it's all done by my systems. All that data comes. Yeah, it generates reminder emails for when subscriptions are due, and it automates so much. And so I've got all that coming into one place, and then I've got this dashboard, so I can put in your name and see, you know, all sorts of information about you in relation to my business and any interactions we've had and that sort of stuff.
Do you run workshops on how to create the app?
I have. Look, I've actually offered it to Nikki with Burundara, but it's really hard to describe it in a way that that you could entice people without having talked about it like this.
I could imagine that, you know, in our world, because we're often talking with our clients about their systems and the data they need that's useful.
Absolutely.
To make decisions and you know, I mean, that's a great example of the agricultural business you mentioned of, you know, well, when are they spraying? I mean, I'm sure there's, you know, many other things they need to track, but to be able to just look at the phone, any staff member can say, when was this
sprayed? Am I allowed on this block yet? Was it just sprayed? You know, they've got it on their phone. Oh, it's
I think that's I think that could really, I'd be interested to hear from people, like put it in the chat box.
If anyone's interested,
do you think you know, like, would your clients do you reckon you could use this with your clients and that they would benefit from that, you know, and that, you know, potentially paying us to help them set it up versus, you know, paying thousands of dollars to design their own app, you know? I think that's a fantastic option.
For me, it's been a game changer. Like, I'm a programmer by trade, but I haven't programmed for many years. But it's sort of the formulas and stuff that you do in it are very Excel-like. So, you know, if you understand how to do things in Excel, you can build it into this app. So there's some basics you have to sort of learn first, but it's absolutely phenomenal what you can do. We've just got so many systems in this particular business now. In their packing facility, there's all sorts of quality systems that are on iPads that are these apps that are just spreadsheets. And so when it comes to doing their audit, the stuff's in a spreadsheet. You can give it to the auditor. There it is. There's nothing sort of special, but it looks like a special database.
Great. Yeah. Okay. So does anybody have any final questions for Lynette? We've got one here. With the app sheet, can it update info on the spreadsheet via a device phone only or on source spreadsheet?
It is in the cloud, so it's the central version. You can only do it with a cloud version of your spreadsheet. So you have to have OneDrive. Sorry, you have to have, you know, Excel in OneDrive or SharePoint or Google Sheets, or an Excel.
Does it also work with Mac numbers? Do they have an online version or only desktop?
It's Excel. Yeah, it's Excel or Google Sheets. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Okay. And what else have we got in the chat box? Yep. Okay, great. All right. And so
The absolute button, I can't remember where it was. I just used my dollar. You know, if you need to fix a cell in a formula, I'm just seeing back to what Christine said early on. I just do my, to set in a formula, if a cell has to not change its reference, then you use the dollar in front of the row and or column.
Tracy says F4 for absolute.
F4.
That's assuming you've got a keyboard that.
I haven't actually looked for the key. I've just used my dollars.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so Lynette is obviously a source of all kinds of magic in Excel. So we've just had a taster, which is great. I've definitely learned some things. I love it. But you offer a longer course, so just tell us about that.
I've actually there's a sort of companion book that goes with it, but it's an 8-part series of videos. With the book, you've then got a reference after. That's in PDF form as well, if anyone needs it. What we do have, you can actually subscribe to have 3 months worth of access to the video series. But we also have this iTandCoffee Club, which is a much better way to do it. You can, one of our plans is $149 a year, and you've got access to any video. So you can learn about Word, Excel, OneDrive. There's a whole range of stuff. There's all sorts of productivity and, all sorts of, videos.
And you
haven't counted how many.
In one of the, you were talking about you no longer have an admin person because you've basically got all of your tools to do that work. So is that something you cover in videos or workshops or anything?
No, I've sort of tried putting it out there in the past as, I've even offered it as a free workshop, but it's really hard. I think in the people that see my emails, I think they don't quite understand what it means because it hasn't really attracted.
I think in our world it could be.
I think it probably would
more attractive because we've got so many people who are sole traders or micro operations.
Yeah,
and it's all about billable time and efficiency. And if we can actually use some tools like this to save on labor costs and time and make it more efficient, and
some of these tools are amazing.
All right, well, hopefully everybody's learnt a couple of tips and tricks they did not know before.
I didn't put up that slide. Hang on, let me just put up the slide that had the details in it. Is that the one? Oh, here we go. Hang on, go back a step. I'll just do a share. Back. Share screen, and it is that one. So it's just itandcoffee.com.au/AAT.
Yep.
And you'll see there's a little form. You just have to give email address, and it will shoot you an email with the link. It's using OneDrive, and you'll be able to view the PDF via your web browser. It's not for download. In this case, if there is the full book if you're interested in more, and that link will be available for about a month.
And people can buy your book on your website if they
can. Yeah. Under the membership, like you can buy it, no problem. There's a PDF version or paperback. The membership, though, not only does it include all the video series, it includes the PDF of the guide. You can download any of our guides, and you can see we've got quite a range. So all of those guides can be downloaded as part of your membership. So it's actually a bit too good value.
Yeah, great. Well, we've got a whole team of advisors here to talk to about
costing my product.
How to charge for yourself.
Pricing my product.
Okay, so thanks everybody. You've got a few comments there saying thank you, great session. Thanks so much, and that's really generous of you to do the PDF and put that up for us on your website. So hopefully everyone got that. The recording will go up on the website as usual, and you can listen again because we covered a lot.
Yes.
Yeah. So Yeah, great. All right. Thanks, everybody. Next month, rather than the last Thursday, we're actually doing the 23rd because the last Thursday is the 30th, and I know nobody will show up on the 30th. So the Tech Talk next month is on Thursday, the 23rd, and we'll be doing e-invoicing. So thanks again, Lynette, and thanks everybody for coming today.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.